Welcome back, y'all. Last episode was all about life updates and finances. This week's episode is all about RV repairs and packing up to head south for the winter. First on the list was addressing some concerns I had about some frame issues at the front of the trailer.
That's bad. That's so bad.
Didn't get much worse, but it got a little bit worse.
Not good.
I figured the easiest way to check that was to pull down the panel underneath the neck. And what I found next kind of surprised me. This is quite possibly the best insulation job I've ever seen in my life. I cannot wait till the day that I get to this level of craftsmanship, you know? Like, this is definitely what we should all strive for. Is to be this good at what we do. This is under a closet. No insulation there. And that's about the worst excuse of insulation I've ever seen, probably. Under the bed. And then I don't know how far back this goes with no insulation. And then they put this foam gasket right here to seal this little belly panel up under here. And they didn't pull the paper off of it. So it's not sealing anything. And then the screws they used are a countersunk screw, but they did not countersink the metal to go through. And it's a little screw. It's not near the size that it should be. But there's one of the screws in there. See, that one actually is countersunk. Not completely, but just enough to where I would probably consider that correct-ish, you know? But I mean, just look at the welding job that these people do. Or the lack of welding. One tiny side. That's about it. And then the frame, it's not welded very good, which, I mean, that's normal. They don't weld anything very good. Haven't seen one that they have yet. I would be willing to guess they just don't pay what it takes to get good welders. See, look at that one. Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful weld. Will say though, this is the only part on the entire fifth wheel that is not rusted. It's amazing. Oh, look at that hole. It's such a beautiful hole. With wires running with no grommet. Just wires running through. I'm laughing on the outside, but I'm crying on the inside. I still love to RV. Now, I love it a whole lot less after owning this one, because I've said it several times, and I'll say it again, never had this problem with my open range. It was definitely not the best fifth wheel out there. I mean, by far, there's lots of things that weren't great on it, but it was priced for that. You know, we knew when we bought it that it was one of the cheapest fifth wheels we could buy. And there were some things on it that are significantly better than this one, which was not cheap at all. Again, yeah, we want to get rid of it. We're ready to sell it, but we're not going to sell it in this condition. It's still not going to be perfect when we're done with it, but we are going to do our best to fix the things that we see when we see them. And that way the next person at least doesn't have to deal with the things that we're dealing with. So the next owner of this RV will have a much better experience than we've had with it. I don't want anybody to have to deal with what we're dealing with. Just another day. I'm gonna take a video of it when we get done because we got some plans for this space.
Harder than it looks.
Mm-hmm. It definitely doesn't all come off with one scrape. How dare you!
Foam board jousting!
How dare you!
I'm trying to straight.
He said, leave me alone, I'm working here.
Oh, I'm walking here. Oh, that's good.
Yep.
If it doesn't work, just hit it. It always works.
Good job.
All right. Now I know this is far from perfect, but it's a whole lot better than it was. This skin was a major pain to get back up, but we finally got it after a while. Then we just had to reseal everything. And now it's on to the next project. We're going to check the bearings today and the brakes. See how the brakes are doing, see how the bearings are, repack them, put new seals on them, and go from there. Hopefully there's nothing broken there. I don't think there is. You never know. We've got this on the highest setting. It's supposed to have, I can't remember, but a lot of, that doesn't say. Anyway, it's supposed to have like 800 pounds of torque, I think, reversing. I've only got 140 pounds on these lug nuts. Could be the extension and the socket that I'm using because it's just a Harbor Freight Pittsburgh stuff, you know. Yeah, because that should have way more than that. Shouldn't struggle that much. Don't look at that. We're going to hide that. That way you can't see. Not bad, but... Whoa. Oh. Yeah, that would explain why I didn't have brakes, wouldn't it? Doggone it. No fun. Grease seal is gone. Man, I'm glad I did this. I started to not do this. It's like, nah, I don't need to, but man, I'm glad I did. It got hot. Not super hot. I mean, didn't hurt it, but she got warm. That's going to need a lot more brake cleaner than what I have. Forgot a rag. I was clearly not prepared to do this today. Let me show you kind of what happened. So that is the grease seal letting go on these. This one's really bad. You can see a lot of grease around it, and then a lot of grease down in there. This one is not near as bad but it still has saturated all that friction material there. This thing needs to be cleaned up so bad. I don't like having it all this nasty. These are my replacement parts. They're from TrueRide. Pretty awesome. $181 tax and all, shipped to my door next day. From a company that I deal with, or used to deal with all the time on my old trailer. I have run this brand for several years and I've never had a failure since I've been using this brand. So that's why I went with it. I haven't had any trouble out of it and I think it'll be just fine. And if it's not, I'll fix it again. Ta-da! This is actually cheaper than replacing even just the shoes. And you get the magnet, the shoes, a whole new backing plate, springs, everything, all in one kit. So you may be wondering why I decided to check the brakes and the bearings and the seals after only about 6,000 miles of towing this RV. Well, the last time I pulled it, I had to turn my brake controller up a little bit more each time I towed it. So the trip to the campground last time, I had to turn it up about 1 to 1.5 points. And then on the way home, I had to turn it up another 1 to 1.5 points. So I knew something was up. But thankfully the brakes worked good enough to get us home, but I knew I needed to do something. So when I pulled the brake drum off, I knew exactly what had happened. I pulled these apart and I checked the bearings and repacked the bearings before we left on our big trip. Now I always do that, even though it was a brand new RV. I did it on our last RV as well, because you just never know. You never know how these bearings were packed from the factory or anything like that. And so I repacked the bearings and the seals came out perfectly fine when I knocked them out the last time. So I just decided, why not reuse them, even though I still had new seals that I'd already ordered to go in there. But this is probably a prime example of why you always replace your seals. Anytime you knock a seal out the back of these brake drums, you need to replace it. It's pretty cheap insurance to keep this from happening to you. Now, I was able to do all the work myself. It wasn't that big of a deal. It cost me less than $200 to do everything. It did cost me some time, but I was opening it up anyway to check the bearings. So it wasn't much extra time. But at least now we have new brakes, new seals, new grease in the bearings, and I'm confident that it's going to make it to our next destination. Next up is working on the truck. So I've got 4 new shocks for the truck. I've got a new steering stabilizer for it. And I also bought a new coolant overflow hose to replace the old one that's prone to leaking. The old one has plastic T-fittings in it, and the hose, actually you can see on them where they start to pull away, like they're almost gonna pop off the T. Now I know they're probably not going to, because there is a barb on there, but I just figured better safe than sorry. The truck's 8 years old and has just over 100,000 miles on it. So I found a Dorman hose, which I don't normally use Dorman, but in this case I did because I felt like it was the best bang for the buck on an improved hose assembly to go back on here. It uses metal T-fittings with the squeeze clamps, and so I figured I couldn't go wrong with that. And I got all new Bilstein shocks for all the corners, all around. It's awesome. Ta-da!
Imagine you put them in and they're not the right size.
Oh, they're the right size.
How did you leverage?
Just using the right way. Making sure not to hurt yourself. I've just done it enough. Done it on a lot heavier ones than this. Bus tires, you know. Okay. Now, I use the pry bar as leverage to get it up on there.
And then you lug nut it.
There we go. I got it pretty much done. I got the shocks changed. Now I got to go under the hood and do a few things. Alright, so the hoses on these trucks are bad about separating right here. You can tell these are separated quite a bit. And it's leaking just a little bit right there. And there, you know. It's all leaking. So I decided to go ahead and change it, and I found this one from Dorman. I'm not a huge fan of, but I mean, I haven't ever had any trouble with their hoses. And it's got metal fittings in it and the squeeze clamps. And these are a little weird. I don't know why they put those like that, but it doesn't matter. So I'm gonna go ahead and change this whole hose out and hopefully not lose a whole lot of coolant. over it. These clamps have a tab and a hole here, and you can actually lock them if you have the right tool to lock them, and then it's just super easy to just pull this tab up a little bit and it'll spring back. You can lock them open, I guess what I mean. And then you can just pop this tab up a little bit and it'll spring close. Makes it really easy. I just don't have a good enough tool to get in there and do it. Oh, maybe I do, but I'm not worried about it. I'll try it on this next one. This video is getting a little long, so come back for part 2 where we go through the storage bays and get everything organized for our trip south. But first, a little behind the scenes action for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, you okay?
I hit my glasses. I'm good.
You put some on if you want. Just take them and wipe them on my pants before you do. Want one?
I'm good.
Eat a cupcake? I feel like somebody's watching me. Got them wired up.